What is the thing you need most as a Minecraft survival player?
A storage system for every single item in the game.
Ooh, a strategy.
Lots of totems.
Those are all great answers. I think it's something else though. But first, we have some cleaning to do. In the last episode, I made this terrible mess to prepare for my mega base. But it's a lot worse than I thought, and that honestly sucks. My spawn looked so beautiful. And this place looks so trash right now. I want this place to look like a snowy fairy tale. For that, we need a lot of snow. So we better start building a snow farm. We need a snowman up on a slab, so that's the snow farm done. No, this farm may be tiny, but that doesn't mean it's not important. This guy is going to carry, so I want his home to look extra special. The frame is already done, but I ran out of ice, so we need some more resources. Alright, to make this tower look awesome, we need to fill in all the walls, find the right patterns, add some blocks for texturing. That just leaves the top bit to be completed, and that's the snow farm done. Yo, this place actually looks so cool. I love it. And this place still sucks. Now that's a problem, because we're going to spend a lot of time here. I'll be honest, guys, I don't really like it around here. There's just too much destruction. We have to repair the damage and get to the point where I start feeling at home. So I enjoy spending time on this project. Let's quickly go over the plan again. I found a swamp with 2 witch huts. So I decided I want to build a double witch farm and set up all the other farms I'll need in this area as well. Mountain with a base on top and farms underneath. But now that the hole is here, I wonder, is it even possible for one player to clean up so much destruction? The only cool thing here right now is this diamond beacon, right? Nah, screw that. I don't want it. Expensive beacons are boring. So in a classic loony operation, I'm going to trade this diamond beacon for an epic snowy mountain. To enchant all the shovels I need for this project, I'm going to need a lot of books. If you guys have seen the previous vids, you know this is my house. I've decided this is definitely the best place to keep my important villagers. There is a bit of a complicating factor though. There's only one way to get them up to my house, and it's a risky mode of transportation. Getting them up there is just too tricky. So instead, I made a platform up above the house so I can drop them down in a boat. There's 3 zombie villagers ready, but then these guys showed up. So I quickly got rid of them and got a bucket of milk, because I really don't want to spawn a Ravager in my house. So they look like they're ready to go, but it's a pretty steep drop. I really don't want to build a staircase down. Now this is definitely going to work with 0 problems. We'll be fine. There you see, easy. Wait, let me fix that. I'll be honest, I didn't think he would survive that, but it worked out. Alright, now I just need to cure them. This guy just offered me Unbreaking 3 for a single emerald. Now I just need Efficiency 4, Silk Touch, and a way to make plenty of emeralds. So we got all the librarians, plus a mason villager who will buy clay balls, and I found this lush cave nearby. I think we're ready to start getting our enchanted shovels. So I started a crazy cycle of trading clay for emeralds, emeralds for bookshelves and enchanted books, then flying back and forth to the end to combine books and shovels. Emeralds started running out, so I got more clay, then ink sacks, more bookshelves, more books, more emeralds, more trades, more enchantments. Until finally, I found myself back at the snow farm in front of shulkers full of enchanted diamond shovels. I was ready for step 3. I really love this snow farm because you don't have to destroy our world to get the resources to build with. I feel like we've done enough of that. From now on, I'm going to make an effort to have a world that feels whole and cool and magical. We better start fixing this place. The plan needs an update. So we need a framework. I've been using this basic mob farm for gunpowder, so we have rockets to fly around, but I'm not sure we're going to keep it. For now, it's super useful, so I think we should start building up the mountain around the farm. Let's seal it up in a snow tube so we can remove the roof overhead. I've done the sides, but I just realized it might be smart to leave it open for a bit in case I want to convert it into a creeper farm later, because gunpowder is easily the most useful thing we're getting here. Let's start building a frame of the mountain so we can get an idea of what it is going to look like. This whole project is going to be way more complicated than I thought. In the last episode, we destroyed all the blocks in the area, which means that the blocks we're placing now are the only spawnable blocks. I really don't want a mob party here. So I should probably get some snow layers to spawn-proof this right away. If you use Silk Touch here, you get snow layers instead of snowballs. Snow layers are actually really cool. A single snow layer doesn't really do anything, but if you put 2 or more on top of each other, they will prevent mobs from spawning. So if we cover this line with snow layers, it's safe. Right, the frame is starting to make sense. The farm is doing really well too. Let's remove the roof of the farm, because the top of the mountain will provide the shade we need anyway. Okay, so these lines are going all the way to the summit. I actually don't know how high up we are right now. You see, I don't use F3 in this world at all, but I'll explain all of that in my 1000 days video that's dropping soon. Right now, I just need to know how much room we have to build upwards before I decide where the top of the mountain is. Well, this is build limit because we can't go any higher. Oh, I like the way that looks. I'm just going to fill in this summit so the mob farm keeps working. Right, we have a started framework. It's time for a little side quest. You see, we are in a really interesting spot with this world right now. I know this is just an outline for a project, but the scale is nuts. So basically, we're working on a mega project, but I don't really have a lot of farms yet. So while we're building up this mountain, I need to start thinking about some serious industry. The thing is, farms need lots of hoppers, but without an iron farm, we can't afford that. So it's time to get that set up first. Wait a second, that's not in the plan. Guys, I took a few minutes to figure everything out. The checklist is pretty complete right now. It's not that much. We're going to be fine. So first, we need villagers for the iron farm. I've removed some torches on the bottom of our massive pit of destruction to look for zombie villagers at night. We could breed villagers, but honestly, there's just something wrong about keeping a bunch of people in a pit just waiting to help you. It took me a few nights, but we got enough zombie villagers to start up the farm. I just need to cure them now, but I'm running out of gold for apples. I will build a gold farm a little down the road, but right now, I just want to keep going. There is one place where we can easily get a bunch of gold blocks, of course, but it's a scary place. You know what? We're going there anyway. I'm going to dig into this bastion from the top. If something happens, I'll just fly back out through this hole. So I made my way down very, very slowly, shooting every piglin I saw from a safe distance away until I made it to the gold. Oh, 2 netherite ingots? That's a nice bonus. With plenty of gold for golden apples, I brewed up some potions of weakness, cured all the villagers, and built up a simple iron farm. So that farm is generating iron for the next couple of farms we need to build. I better start filling in the frame for the mountain. Layer after layer, snowblock after snowblock, we made lots of progress. The occasional round trip to the snow farm was a welcome break, but even though progress was slow, it felt really cool to see the mountain frame filling in. Until I realized I was building an accidental mob farm. So there's mobs spawning all over my mountain. That's not good. We need more snow layers so we can cover this area and make sure no more mobs spawn here. That fixes it, but at the same time it really doesn't. Apparently a project of this scale just keeps throwing more problems at you. Here's the thing, I need to make sure I cover the entire mountain. And a block of snow with or without snow layers on top, they pretty much look the same. So we need a way to mark it. Oh, what was that? Oh, you can help me out? Okay, awesome, let's do it. I'm setting up a sheep farm up in the air. The location probably looks a bit random right now, but this will start to make sense later, I'm absolutely sure. With the wool from this farm, we can mark which areas of the mountain are already spawn-proofed, but it's going to take a little bit of time before it's ready. Alright, we'll just wait for that, but to put that time to good use, I better build up an automated melon and pumpkin farm right here under the sheep farm. The resources from this one are going to be my main emerald trade for the near future. So the wool farm hasn't quite stacked up on blocks yet, but I realized that I can use string from the general mob farm to craft wool in the meantime. Not the most efficient method, but at least we can keep working on the mountain. So I marked out the area I had already spawn-proof with snow layers, and I felt like I was back on track until I flew back under the mountain. Oh my god, there's a million mobs here. I hadn't thought about this yet. I knew that the imperfect rough surfaces on the side were going to be challenging, but I felt like I had a pretty decent plan for it. I was thinking of building up tall stone walls with torches on the backside to light these spots up. But now that I've started construction on the mountain overhead, it seems like we need to start building those right away, or I'll surely have creepers falling on my head. So I got to work building up the wall and putting torches behind it, and this seemed to fix my issue as we weren't seeing any mobs behind the wall. But it was a pretty slow process. Until someone in my chat offered up the perfect suggestion. What if we use falling lava to cast the walls in place? If flowing lava gets touched by water, it will turn into cobblestone. Now, this lava casting, as people call it, is often used to grief SMPs. But in this case, it could actually save us tens of thousands of blocks that need to be mined and then placed back. I just have to figure out how to do this cleanly. That took some trial and error, but I think I got it. 3 blocks of lava with a gap in between allows me to tower up in between the cobblestone walls while placing torches on the backside. That means I cut down the amount of blocks that I need to place by 75%. A small hole in the bottom where the lava is going to fall prevents it from spreading everywhere and creating a huge mess. Now, everything on a scale this massive just looks super cool, and honestly we could use the lava as light sources if it wasn't for the extra lag it would add to the base. Since leaving them wasn't a real option, I poured the water anyway, so we ended up with a huge cobblestone wall all the way around our pit. Alright, the walls are casted. It's probably time to quickly convert the mob farm into a creeper/spider farm by placing trapdoors on the bottom of each layer. I really don't need any more rotten flesh. I think everything is working down here now. There's no more farms that I urgently need, so it's time to make some real progress on the mountain. During the days, I worked on the lower regions of the mountain, and during the nights, I started building up the more vertical top part to prevent creepers from blowing me up while I was placing snow. This worked for about a day, until mob spawning started to get insane again. I really have to keep up with the spawn proofing, but it's hard to keep track. I need a second color of wool for markers, so I quickly built up a dye farm which gets me blue orchids because we're in a swamp biome. These are actually my favorite small flower in the game. I used the light blue dye to color wool, which I got from the sheep farm this time, and the light blue wool now marks out the sections that I have to spawn proof next. It's starting to come together, guys. We are closing in on checklist item 47. But something feels wrong. I just can't quite pinpoint what it is. When I figured it out later, that insight changed everything. Let me tell you a quick story. In my previous hardcore world, we've celebrated many awesome milestones with different fireworks setups around the world. Looking ahead to 1,000 days in this new world, I realized that the mountain base wouldn't be ready for the first big milestone here. So that meant there was only one spot where the fireworks setup would make sense. So I have to build a fireworks system in my starter house. Now, if you have seen episode 2, you already know this starter house is quite special. I built it on top of this flying rock that we found shortly after I started the world. To have enough space to build it, I cleared out the inside, but in most places, I literally left a single layer of stone from the original rock. After decorating the insides, there isn't a lot of room to build a fireworks setup at all. Now, when I started the world, I said that one of my main goals for this series was to get better at redstone. So this was an opportunity to fit in a compact system. The basement offered just enough space for a simple hopper clock and a lever to start it, but there was no room anywhere to carry a signal up to the top floor. Until I remembered what my friend Crafty Masterman told me about leaves being able to carry a redstone signal. Now, this may sound weird, but you see, leaves have an invisible value that registers how far away they are from a piece of wood. Observers are able to see a change in that value, which means we can use the leaves on the outside of my house to carry the signal up. Sure enough, the fireworks turned out awesome, but that made me realize something very important. I was not having a good time over at the mountain. It's going to take a long time before the mountain base is going to have the same exciting feel as his starter house. And I don't want to have a weird world that feels empty and soulless for so long. So I decided that the spawn proofing had to wait for a little bit. The mountain just needs to cover the hole we made earlier. Everything else can wait. Now, there is one thing that would speed up that process by quite a lot. Something that would make it a lot less tedious. I have to get Swift Sneak from the Deep Dark. So it's time to go look for an ancient city. Now, I was going to take preparations for the ancient city hunting very serious. Losing my old world still feels pretty raw, and I still hate it that I messed up in such a dumb way, and I didn't get to finish all the plans that I had because of it. At the same time, that world as a whole feels like a very positive experience, and I'm okay with it being gone. In a way, losing this world right now would feel way worse, because I feel like this world is empty. Besides my starter house, there wouldn't be a lot to fondly look back on, just a bunch of lost potential. So this trip to the Deep Dark can't be the end of this world. As I sorted out my inventory, I took all the totems of Undying that I had, and I collected both of my enchanted golden apples. And with that, I was as ready as I was going to get. The ancient cities spawn under mountain biomes, so I started looking under every tall mountain I could find. Luckily, there are a lot of them in this area. It took me 2 days to find an ancient city, but eventually I did. What happened in there is another story for the 1000 days video, but I made it out with the Swift Sneak book I was looking for. There was something else that came with the 1.19 upgrade though, and that would turn out to be even more important than this book, but it would be a little while before I found that. First, I put Swift Sneak on my pants and I started filling in the rest of the mountain. More shovels were broken to get the snow blocks, and progress was really speeding up, but still, that nagging feeling that something was off wouldn't go away. Until my stream chat suggested to go find a mangrove swamp. I set off and flew around the world. I'm not sure whether it was because I had kept my world small and hadn't explored many chunks, or we simply got lucky, but we found it pretty quickly. This was my first time seeing a mangrove swamp, and I immediately knew what I had to do to fix the feeling of an empty world that I was struggling with. New things and possibilities in Minecraft can be such an inspiring thing. I quickly collected up some propagules and rushed home to solve my problem. It wasn't the work on the mountain that had bothered me at all. It was the feeling of an empty world. In my Season 1 world, there were so many cool things to see wherever I went. In this world, the snow farm is the coolest build besides my starter house, and that just feels wrong. To fix my world and get excited again, I need to make sure everything is connected. So I went to this tiny map room and started work on the Mangrove Trail, a series of roads that connected the starter base to the map room, the storage tower, crop fields, and then, when I flew up in the air, I realized there was one more spot left to build to fill in the area and make it feel like a world rather than a project. This forest over here is an empty spot between everything I've built so far, so this is the best place for a Hall of Fame. I quickly mined out the space under the build, figured out what type of blocks I wanted to use, and flew out to a Badlands biome to collect some terracotta. Before flying out of there, I restored the area to keep the biome pretty. Now, I had the terracotta I needed, but I was missing some other important resources. I started building an automated wood farm, then a simple cactus farm for green dye. While the cactus farm was running, I had to spend some time there, so I added a more complicated farm to generate bone meal. This one will actually fuel the bone meal into the tree farm. This combination is actually insane. Links for these farms are down below in the description, because they are made by much smarter people than myself. At this point, iron wasn't an issue anymore, so we could make all the hoppers needed, and slowly but surely, the industrial backbone of our base was taking shape. With all the farms done and the different dye colors available, I went to finish up the Hall of Fame. This place exists for you guys. You can get your name in the world here. Actually, for every 1,000 subscribers I get for the entire rest of the year, I will take one name from the comment section on this video and add it to this book. When the Hall of Fame was done and I flew up out of the forest, I suddenly saw my vision coming together, and it got me very excited. There were just 2 steps left to do before I could start working on my main base. Full of excitement, I flew to the snow farm to get all the resources needed for the next stage of the build. Now, the last step is a truly magical one, but before we get to that, I need to make sure this mountain becomes spawn-proof. These marked off sections with the wall are actually working really well. That is until I got to the higher up parts, where I soon realized that this was an impossible job. If I can help it, I prefer to come up with creative solutions to keep track in the game, but on this one, I had to concede my loss. So I needed an extra creative solution. This wasn't the most straightforward thing in the world, but luckily, I found a texture pack for overlapping snow layers. You see, the side and top of snow blocks, they share exactly the same texture, so you can't just recolor the side or the top easily. That would involve messing with the block data, and I wasn't going to do that. So instead, I made the entire snow texture red, except for the overlapping texture that was added by this pack, which look absolutely awful. But it does allow us to find the spots where I still need to add layers. Slowly but surely, over many hours of work, I started getting closer to finishing the layers. This alone must have taken me 40 hours. But then, it was time to do something I had been looking forward to for a long time. While we were building up the Mangrove Trail, the crop fields, Hall of Fame, and all the bridges and tunnels in between, we had been connecting the world to the mountain project. Now it was time to connect the mountain to the world around it. Snowmen leave snow layers on the ground. That's how the snow farm works in the first place. Now, this doesn't work for spawn proofing because a single layer won't stop mobs from spawning, but it does work if you want to cover your world in snow. Actually, it works quite well. With a bunch of snowmen on leads, I started running around the swamp, traveling through the sometimes difficult and sometimes surprisingly easy terrain. Over the course of a bunch more hours, this entire swamp started to turn into the snowy fairy tale that I had envisioned when I started this. We started this video with a hole in the ground, and now it looks like this. But this story didn't start with a hole in the ground. It started with my first steps in a really cold place. A place that was so beautiful that it decided for me what my world was going to look like. So I ask you guys again, what is the thing you need most as a Minecraft survival player? You need something that keeps you going through the grind, and your world is full of it.